Vice President Harris is finally sitting down for interviews. Of course, they are not exactly hard-hitting. I mean, heck, these interviews were so laid back, she even cracked open a cold one on national TV.
And her team wants you to be impressed by the outrage, claiming, quote, she's going everywhere. And it's so remarkable. Joining us to react, former Michigan gubernatorial candidate and host of the Tudor Dixon podcast. Tudor Dixon, I called it the suck-up tour of sniveling media grovelers. Like, her team really picked him. Howard Stern, you know, he's a odious germaphobe at this point. And doesn't everybody know you drink Miller High Life out of a bottle, for Pete's sake?
That's right.
I mean, Howard Stern is not exactly the epitome of what Democrats say they want to be. This party that lifts up women, is so respectful. It's just bizarre, and nobody calls them on it. And yet she can't actually answer the questions, even when she does the softball interviews, Dagan. I think that's the fascinating part. She stumbles, she mumbles. The View asks her, would you change anything from what Joe Biden did? And she's like, no. Really? Is that how your campaign wanted you to answer? I thought you were the candidate of change. I thought you were the new vision for America. But you just want to go back to the same old. No, she just actually doesn't know who she is, because her campaign is just throwing her from place to place. This is a desperate attempt to make her look cool. And apparently that's all they're doing in the Democrat Party these days. These little skits, the TikTok videos. But when it comes to actually talking policy, there's nothing there.
I've never seen two people look like they've never had Miller High Life before more than Harris and Colbert.
Like they didn't know what it was going to taste like.
What do I do with this? Yeah, what does it taste like? Tudor, I want to ask you about this. Biden and Harris's green agenda is putting Democrats on defense, with Michigan Senate hopefuls Elissa Slotkin and Mike Rogers duking it out over electric vehicles at their debate last night. Listen.
I don't care what kind of car you want to drive. What I do care about is who is going to build the next generation of vehicles, right? Literally, it's either going to be us or China.
85% of everything that's processed in an electric vehicle has to go through China. Why in God's green earth we would cede that auto market to the Communist Party of China is beyond me. My opponent has multiple times supported EV mandates, trying to pick the cars that our companies have to build and the cars that you're going to have to buy. And by the way, that got us 2,400 layoffs at Stellantis, 1,000 layoffs at General Motors. Ford is talking about closing 2 lines.
I mean, they say that they don't want to tell you what kind of car to drive, but if you just look at the economics of it, they're telling you what kind of car they want you to drive. What do you make of it?
Of course, they have the EPA that's created a rule that you now have to drive this car. But I can't stand the fact that they call this the green agenda, because exactly what Mike Rogers was saying, the majority of these parts, these components, will be made in China. They will be made in very dirty factories in China. The people will get sick. They will end up with child labor. They will do all kinds of human rights offenses. And then those parts will come here and we'll buy them. We actually have rules in the United States of America that we don't buy components that have been funneled through slave labor. That's not okay. And yet Elissa Slotkin will not stand up against this. It's terrible. And then she says, we're going to put it in Flint. You've got Harris saying we're going to retool the factories in Flint, and we're going to have electric vehicle batteries there. Okay, well, first of all, these jobs are not interchangeable. I'm sorry, but you don't pull someone off an assembly line and say, now you're going to work with these deadly chemicals. And it's a little bit iffy to put deadly forever chemicals in Flint. Is that what we want in our water in Flint? No. Could we please protect the people of Michigan and not say, hey, your jobs are just interchangeable? It would be like going into a company and saying, I know that you're an accountant today, but tomorrow you're going to work in marketing. You can do that, right? It's just ridiculous. It's so insensitive. They know nothing about the working class, and they continually prove that every single day.
To put an exclamation point on it, because Elissa Slotkin is actually running an ad saying the same thing. No one should tell us what to buy, and no one is going to mandate anything. That's a lie, because as you said, the EPA tailpipe emissions regulation, which will mandate that 2/3 of vehicles must be electric or partially electric in 8 years is a mandate for automakers to make electric vehicles, and that is a job destroyer in her very state. 2 seconds.
Absolutely, and Mike Rogers will stand against it. That's why we need him in the U.S. Senate.
Thank you, Tudor Dixon.